Seek to imagine what your life would be like without any machines working for you. Make a list of the machines in your household and on your person. You may arrive at a surprising number. Now imagine earlier generations during their childhood years. How did they move from place to place? How did they communicate? What foods did they eat? At one time, humans, fueled by the animals and plants they ate and the wood they burned, or aided by their domesticated animals, provided most of the energy in use. Windmills and water wheels captured some extra energy, but there was little in reserve. All life operated within the fairly immediate flow of energy from the sun to earth. Everything changed during the Industrial Revolution, which began around 1750. People found an extra source of energy with an incredible capacity for work. That source was fossil fuels, coal, oil, and natural gas, though coal led the way, formed underground from the remains of plants and animals from much earlier geologic times. When these fuels were burned, they released energy, originally from the sun, that had been stored for hundreds of millions of years. Industrial Revolution. In modern history, the process of change from an agrarian and handicraft economy to one dominated by industry and machine manufacturing. These technological changes introduced novel ways of working and living and fundamentally transformed society. This process began in Britain in the 18th century and from there spread to other parts of the world. Although used earlier by French writers, the term Industrial Revolution was first popularized by the English economic historian Arnold Toynbee, 1852–83, to describe Britain's economic development from 1760 to 1840. Since Toynbee's time, the term has been more broadly applied as a process of economic transformation and as a period of time in a particular setting. This explains why some areas, such as China and India, did not begin their first industrial revolutions until the 20th century, while others, such as the United States and Western Europe, began undergoing second industrial revolutions by the late 19th century. England, birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. Thanks in part to its damp climate, ideal for raising sheep, Britain had a long history of producing textiles like wool, linen and cotton. But prior to the Industrial Revolution, the British textile business was a true cottage industry, with the work performed in small workshops or even homes by individual spinners, weavers and dyers. Starting in the mid-18th century, innovations like the flying shuttle, the spinning jenny, the water frame and the power loom made weaving cloth and spinning yarn and thread much easier. Producing cloth became faster and required less time and far less human labor. More efficient, mechanized production meant Britain's new textile factories could meet the growing demand for cloth both at home and abroad, where the nation's many overseas colonies provided a captive market for its goods. In addition to textiles, the British iron industry also adopted new innovations. Chief among the new techniques was the smelting of iron ore with coke, a material made by heating coal, instead of the traditional charcoal. This method was both cheaper and produced higher quality material, enabling Britain's iron and steel production to expand in response to demand created by the Napoleonic Wars, 1803–15, and the later growth of the railroad industry. Impact of steam power. An icon of the Industrial Revolution broke onto the scene in the early 1700s, when Thomas Newcomen designed the prototype for the first modern steam engine. Called the atmospheric steam engine, Newcomen's invention was originally applied to power the machines used to pump water out of mine shafts. In the 1760s, Scottish engineer James Watt began tinkering with one of Newcomen's models, adding a separate water condenser that made it far more efficient. Watt later collaborated with Matthew Boulton to invent a steam engine with a rotary motion, a key innovation that would allow steam power to spread across British industries, including flour, paper, and cotton mills, iron works, distilleries, waterworks and canals. Just as steam engines needed coal, steam power allowed miners to go deeper and extract more of this relatively cheap energy source. The demand for coal skyrocketed throughout the Industrial Revolution and beyond, as it would be needed to run not only the factories used to produce manufactured goods, but also the railroads and steamships used for transporting them. Transportation during the Industrial Revolution. Britain's road network, which had been relatively primitive prior to industrialization, soon saw substantial improvements, and more than 2,000 miles of canals were in use across Britain by 1815. In the early 1800s, Richard Trevithick debuted a steam-powered locomotive, and in 1830 similar locomotives started transporting freight and passengers between the industrial hubs of Manchester and Liverpool. By that time, steam-powered boats and ships were already in wide use, carrying goods along Britain's rivers and canals as well as across the Atlantic. Communication and banking in the Industrial Revolution. The latter part of the Industrial Revolution also saw key advances in communication methods, as people increasingly saw the need to communicate efficiently over long distances. In 1837, British inventors William Cooke and Charles Wheatstone patented the first commercial telegraphy system, even as Samuel Morse and other inventors worked on their own versions in the United States. Cooke and Wheatstone's system would be used for railroad signaling, as the speed of the new trains had created a need for more sophisticated means of communication. Banks and industrial financiers rose to new prominence during the period, as well as a factory system dependent on owners and managers. A stock exchange was established in London in the 1770s. The New York Stock Exchange was founded in the early 1790s. In 1776, Scottish social philosopher Adam Smith, 1723–1790, who is regarded as the founder of modern economics, published The Wealth of Nations. In it, Smith promoted an economic system based on free enterprise, the private ownership of means of production, and lack of government interference. Though many people in Britain had begun moving to the cities from rural areas before the Industrial Revolution, this process accelerated dramatically with industrialization, as the rise of large factories turned smaller towns into major cities over the span of decades. This rapid urbanization brought significant challenges, as overcrowded cities suffered from pollution, inadequate sanitation, and a lack of clean drinking water. Meanwhile, even as industrialization increased economic output overall and improved the standard of living for the middle and upper classes, poor and working class people continued to struggle. The mechanization of labor created by technological innovation had made working in factories increasingly tedious, and sometimes dangerous, and many workers were forced to work long hours for pitifully low wages. Such dramatic changes fueled opposition to industrialization, including the Luddites, known for their violent resistance to changes in Britain's textile industry. The Industrial Revolution was a time of great imagination and progress. The inventions that allowed new products to be manufactured created a demand that caused a vicious cycle that propelled some people to prosperity, while at the same time held people down in poverty. Write your opinion in the comments. How do you think the Industrial Revolution has affected the world we live in today? Don't forget to subscribe for more history videos.